We're live from CGT Studios in Los Angeles, California. I am Edward Earl with CEO Growth Team.
I'm Rett Rasmussen with Rasmussen Gas Logs and Grills.
And guys, we are here today to talk about the internet as it relates to your industry, because paper has started to go away significantly. The way people are starting to search with the advent of smartphones and everything else, consumers more than anything are online doing searches and doing more than just searches. I mean, they are really doing their due diligence to the point that they're actually wanting to walk in and buy off of the internet. And that causes maybe some good feelings and then maybe some potential problems. So let's talk about that, Rhett.
Well, absolutely. There's a lot that can happen with the internet, and what, as a dealer, you need to have a plan in place and role play to it. Train your sales staff and have it in your mind what you're willing to accept when somebody walks in and slaps down a printout from the internet.
Because that's really what's starting to happen. I mean, these people are more than just searching.
Oh, they can find out on the internet everything that you can find out about the particular products that you carry, and probably will know more because they're focusing in like a laser beam on one particular product, where your shop is full of a lot of different products and you can only do so much.
And we're finding that this is catching a lot of dealers by surprise, because it seemingly comes across almost antagonistic or really overly aggressive.
Well, and it really, you don't want to get upset when somebody comes in, especially if they've never stepped foot in your store before.
Sure.
And put down the printout. You need to kind of look at it as, okay, here's an opportunity to negotiate. Because really what they're doing is they're making an offer.
Right.
They're saying, okay, I am willing to buy at this price. Will you meet it or beat it? And so, as it is in any type of offer, you can accept it, you can reject it, or you can counter to it. And so you need to kind of go through the various scenarios in your mind of what you're going to accept, to come out. Because, I mean, you're in business. They want to sell something. If they don't sell something, they're not going to stay in business. And these are going to happen. The internet's not going to go away. People aren't going to stop shopping around. They used to do it before. They just go to the next town and maybe get a signed offer or something, proposal, and then bring it to you and see what you would do. Well, now it's a little more instantaneous. In fact, they can do it right in your store with a smartphone if they are a little more bold than some people would like.
Yeah, which is a little unnerving. I mean, let's be honest. If you're not used to that and a guy's asking you and you make a comment, he can search right there. Which, guys, you need to realize, one of the things that the internet is starting to do, and one of the things that smartphones are starting to do, it's causing businesses to be, I wouldn't say more honest, but you've got to be a little bit more careful with the way that you're selling. Right. You can't really kind of duck and hide anymore, because if whatever you say, that consumer can call you right on the carpet right there.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got a lot at their fingertips. So what I'd like the dealers to do, Ed, is to kind of take it from a positive approach. Not get all upset, not call up the phone and say, hey, Rhett, I got this offer given to me. How dare you have your stuff on the internet? Everybody's stuff is on the internet nowadays. Right. It's how you as a brick and mortar retailer are going to handle these different scenarios. So I look at it this way. Somebody walks in, you've never seen them before, and they make you the offer. You have to look at, well, how much money have I got and time do I have invested in this guy? What was my cost of lead acquisition? Well,
sure.
Zero. Or maybe it was from your website, from how you've optimized your search engine, your website for the search engine, something along those lines that brought them in. But you have no direct connection with them to this point. You've not invested any time or money. So you can look at it and go, well, I could just take the money and run if I accept it. Maybe I want to counter to them on something. Maybe, and the counter works on the other scenarios, which is, the one that really sticks in everybody's craw is the consumer walks in, they ask about a particular product, you take them through your lineup, you give them the whole, features and benefits, you educate them from a ground zero level up to where they have all the tools available, all the knowledge to make a good, well-informed purchase. And then they say, well, let me think about it. And you know what they're doing. They're going home. They're Google searching, they're doing everything to find out more, but what they're really looking for is a competing price.
Right.
And so they come back the next day with a printout and say, well, you offered it at this, but I can buy it for this. If you'll give it to me for the lower price, I'll buy it from you.
You know, and there's a caustic term that I've always used in the industry. It's called knowledge raping. And you know what? The reality is you're going to have consumers that do that. And all things considered, just know that it's happening, but there are some ways to get around that.
Well, what it is it's, again, you could accept the offer, you can reject the offer, you can counter the offer. And there's a lot of ways of countering it. You might just go back with a higher price, but try to justify it with, well, I'm your man on the spot here. If there's something that goes wrong and it's through the internet guy, you're just talking with a website, maybe a phone, but I'm here in person. I'm here to be your advocate. I'll help you through it.
Right.
Whatever the case may be. There's a certain benefit to that, which, if you're a value-added good dealer, you're going to give them what they need, and that might bring them over to more in your area of the pricing. It might be that you'll come up with some sort of a compensating offer. Maybe you'll give them a discount on a larger discount on a particular accessory. Maybe it'll be delivery and setup. You'll throw that in that they wouldn't get from the internet guy. Maybe you do cooking classes on a grill every month. Well, you'll give them some specialized, personalized training on it that they wouldn't get from the internet guy. You need to look for different ways of trying to bridge that gap to try to get more money, because that's, you need to make as much as possible, but by the same token, you hate to invest all that time in bringing that person up to the buying decision and then have them walk away.
Right.
And you have to weigh that. You have to kind of do a gut check and figure out, well, what am I going to do in those situations?
Right. And one of the things I want to make clear also to everybody that's watching, don't fall prey to having one or two experiences like that and then drawing a global conclusion that everybody that comes in from the internet is walking in, listening to what you say. As soon as you turn around, they're excusing themselves to the restroom, walking over to a corner, going out to their car and hitting their smartphone and trying to rip you off. That's not really the case. Most people do want good service. But one thing I would suggest is that the internet is forcing people, including us in Rett's organization and your organization, forcing us all to be better marketers. And in the end, it's really what's driven the innovation in everybody's industry, including your own. It just sometimes stinks being on the end of that or behind the eight ball of it, and it's forcing us all to grow. But I would say, if you're really concerned about it also, do a little competitive research, because you're competing against guys that are selling directly on the internet. Go look at your features and your advantages and your benefits and the services you offer, and then go call 4 or 5 of these guys that you're getting and find out what is it that they're doing. What is their return policy? What happens on shipping? What happens if something breaks? Who can I call if there's a malfunction? So on and so forth. Find out. So that way when they come in, you could easily say to them, hey, you know what? I'm glad that you're doing your due diligence, because that makes our job a lot easier when it's all said and done. We've got people that come in like that all the time. One of the things, and here's a transition dialogue I want to give you that works all the time in these kinds of circumstances. You don't ever attack. What you need to do, say if Rett was the customer, is you want to come over onto his side. And that way you're leaving the other organization over there. You want to be on his side by using dialogue like this. You know, that's fantastic. One of the concerns that we keep hearing about that when those kinds of purchases get done, and that's the thing that concerns us the most, is that people are purchasing, but when they have this circumstance, which understand in these types of products, there's always going to be a little bit of maintenance, a little bit of customer service, a little bit of this, a little bit of fiddling around to kind of get it all to work the way you want it to. That's just the natural part of this industry. The biggest concern is they're kind of left high and dry. And then they end up paying for those types of service calls and find somebody, and that really starts to get frustrating to them. And what we're starting to witness and see is that people are end up spending X amount of dollars more within a period of months to compensate for that. So just be wary of that. And as soon as you say things like that, from that non-aggressive, non-defensive, that's the thing that's most important, don't get defensive. If you do a little bit of due diligence and use that framework, all of a sudden you'll find that those people will sit back and go, yeah. Because you got to realize something that's happening with people who are buying in the internet. When they see a price like that, everybody knows that that's too good to be true. They just don't know why. And so if you're defensive, you're validating their position. But if you're coming from a position of concern, if you're stepping over to the side of the consumer, coming from a position of concern on their side, all of a sudden you'll validate the reasons why they feel like that's too good to be true. And I can assure you, if you do things like that, you're going to watch most of those internet sales sway right back into your corner at full boat.
Right. Absolutely. It's always better to work from an empathy position.
Correct.
You know, walk in the other man's shoes and try to go across that way than to just butt heads and say, no, it's my way or the highway.
Right.
You know, another issue that comes out is dealers will say, well, I don't want to give it at that price because they'll tell all their friends that I'm a cost cutter or price cutter, and it's like, well, okay, so he tells all his friends, and then they come in and want the same deal. What was your cost of lead acquisition for those new customers that have come in? It's going to be just your discount that you're giving. So, you know, there's a lot of ways of looking at this here, but just don't look at it flat on its face that, well, he wants me to accept what he's throwing down here, and that's it. You know, you need to look at the full picture on it, your cost of lead acquisition, other ways of compensating, benefits you can give to the consumer to bridge the gap between what they're offering to buy it at and what you want to sell it at.
And I think in the essence what you're saying is, guys, don't get over emotional about the experiences. Look, you're business people, you're entrepreneurs. Look at it from a business perspective and see if it's a good business transaction. Because what Rhett's saying is, if you look at that lack of lead acquisition, if you knew what your lead acquisition cost and your cost of sale was, I think you're probably fine that kind of dumping that product and revolving it is probably in your favor. I think in the end, guys, when you look at this, you've got to take the emotion out of the experience. A lot of times the internet is creating this big emotion that seems like a personal affront. Right. And an insult to your intelligence as a business person. But I think if you look at it from a business perspective, you are business people, you're entrepreneurs. If you look at it from a business perspective, you'll find that a lot of these transactions actually make a lot of business sense.
Absolutely. And so what I'd like to get across most is prepare in advance. Do your gut check, train your sales staff, have a plan for when these circumstances come up. You can transition gracefully into them rather than kind of stammer around and get emotional. Take the emotion out of it and, you know, make the sale. That's what you're really there for.
Right. In the end, you're there to make sales. And one of the things that's always been great about Rhett's organization, and I think that most people don't really understand, is you guys have such a wealth of experience, not only in the product side of things, but in the marketing, advertising, sales side of things, and you consult with organizations. Take advantage of their knowledge. Call these guys and have them walk you through your cost per lead, your cost per sale, and look at those types of transactions and consult with these guys so you can really know, you know what, I'm actually ahead of the game. This isn't a bad deal for me.
Yeah, please give me a call. Let's talk. Let's work this through, and let's all grow together.
Fantastic. Guys, thanks a million. Rhett, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Ed.
Appreciate it. Take care.